How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to episode 3 of the IMX exclusive podcast. My name is Ryan Saracool, and I am your host. Today's episode was shot back in 2024, and I'm super happy to finally have the chance to premiere it to you guys. I had an amazing conversation and connecting with a good friend named Karin, all the way from Austria. She's a musician, artist, dancer, DJ, you name it. There's a lot of things that we can learn from her and be inspired by her in this conversation. So please like, share, subscribe, whatever it is we do on the internet, and enjoy the episode, guys. How's it going, everybody? Welcome today to I'm Exclusive. We're back with another episode of a podcast with a guest all the way from Austria. Today, we have a very special guest, Karin. She is someone I've followed for a while, super artistic dancer, music enthusiast, and very, very fashionable, as you can see. So welcome.
Thank you. I enjoyed that introduction a lot.
The first time I saw you, I think someone shared a video of you tutting. I think it was black and white, maybe too.
I don't remember.
The black and white. It was very artistic. It was actually being shared quite a bit. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. So I started following you, and then I realized you're not in the States. Yeah. So I thought you were in the States at first. But before I get too crazy, tell us a little bit about yourself. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited. Thank you for inviting me. I feel so honored. And I'm curious about where this conversation's going.
Yeah. I think everybody that's artistic and self-expressive has a story behind it. I'm especially curious because you're not from here, and especially to retouch on that is that you are an Asian that's from Austria, and that to me is quite rare. Would you say that's rare even in Austria?
It is.
Okay. I thought I was I didn't want to just be wrong about that, you know?
No, it is.
Okay, that's something I'm curious about. Let's start off with that. So
Okay.
tell us a little bit about that. Either your family was there or you.
That's going straight into my course. So a good course to fold everything. My parents, my grandpa and my father, moved to Salzburg. And at that time, everything was random, so they didn't choose Austria. It was just oh, this is a place where you can stay. So it could have been anywhere.
Right.
And then my dad was very old-fashioned, searching for a woman, and he went back to China, and then they met, and then she came here. So that's a bit of the backstory why Austria, so random.
Wow.
And then I was born and I grew up in Austria in Salzburg.
Wow.
And as you said, it's very rare.
Yeah.
Even back then it was more rare. Austria, the history is, I think, very obvious to the world. So it's super. And it's not so far away, so there's a lot of racism going on.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then that's a lot of part of my story, I would say, even though I don't want to. But that experience growing up, always being othered all the time.
Oh wow.
Made me always think about things very differently and gave me an unchosen position of an observer, even though I think my nature is also being observative. But I think that pretty much ingrained deep into the person I am today.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was always looking to American ABC.
ABC, yeah.
Yeah, American-born Asians.
Yeah, well, ABC is Chinese, but
Chinese.
mainly, AB, anything. ABA, yeah.
Because even though when I go back to China, I realize I cannot find the same connection, and then here I feel at least people have this Western but Asian background. So
yeah, and honestly, even having an Asian Western background is actually still kind of confusing as well, because it became kind of its own thing,
True.
Yeah, over time, especially now in this generation more than ever, where this what generation, like Gen Z, that's like their own thing, and like as a millennial, I'm looking at it like, wow, you guys don't have necessarily the kind of like weird transitional racism going on, and like our parents dealt with like full racism. Yeah. And that's why like there's a lot of gangs that were formed in the United States originally. But I don't know the exact history, but people needed to stick together, Yeah. It's very interesting. So your dad went your grandpa, right? Your grandfather?
Yeah, they went together. So
Oh.
I don't know the real story because that's very, I don't know if Asian, but Chinese, like they never tell you everything. So you're like, I don't even know if that's true or not. So a lot of things you have to assume, but yeah, they came together. And my dad dropped out of school because of racism.
What
Yeah.
that's real.
Yeah.
Even for me, I actually didn't finish high school myself. And a lot of it was like I grew up in a kind of it's not the wealthiest area, it's not the worst area. It's kind of like the cusp of like a ghetto area and like a suburb, not like fully suburban, but like a town. And my parents were just wealthy enough to get out of the poorer part and stay in the okay part. We're not quite wealthy enough to be in the nicer part, right? So the school there was, of course, a mixture, but it was dominant more so on non-Asians. There's a few Asians, not very much many Caucasians actually. It's a lot of Hispanics and African Americans, and it was pretty rough, I'd say. It's pretty rough. And then it kind of, and I don't know if you relate to this as well, but like being different and an environment where there's not much of you, and I can only imagine what it's like for you, right?
Yeah.
It kind of like sometimes shapes you to do things that like may have not really been in your nature.
Oh my god, this makes so. Oh my god, yeah, yeah.
And you figure out later, you're like, oh man, like that was so not me.
This I feel this so much.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like it takes so long to almost unlearn and like search for the true you again. And I hate victim blaming, but then I'm also like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
why? Like, who could I have been if I didn't have to like put all these things to survive?
Like try to, like you said, like blend in with your environment to some degree, so where you don't get trouble. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Like masking, basically.
Yeah. Interesting. And do you feel like in your journey of being an Asian out there, like the idea of like, when you're younger, you don't really know. You're just trying to survive. You're trying to figure it out. And you're like masking, that's quote unquote masking to some degree. But as you grew up, do you feel like maybe there's parts where you figured out yourself and kind of was able to still used and utilize those types of things that you learn from like quote unquote masking what from you, and a lot of it you shut it out? Or
That's a good question. I think for sure. I think because I have this forever feeling of living in between and then always never belonging.
oh my god.
And then the more I realize like the feeling, the urge to belong is like one of the strongest like necessities of a human.
Yes.
And like never having this kind of like being pushed to the edge constantly of never belonging somehow made my thinking free itself, maybe more of the default version a human would have. It's hard, not that I'm like over it. I'm sure like I still also want to belong and everything, but because I have this experience of always like being kind of outside everywhere, I get to understand things, I think, more on a zoomed out level. And then I get to experience more of seeing patterns because I travel a lot.
Right.
Compared to people who are maybe super in it. And I feel like this constant like experience and trying to understand how the belonging part works made me, I think I would say I'm good at mm, connecting people with each other and connecting like connections in general. I find that very fascinating, and I think that comes from never belonging.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you feel like a part of you feeling like not belonging? Do you think that that has evolved into a sense of you developing a strong sense of individualism and then connecting with other people that have strong senses of individualism?
Mm-hmm. I think that's the interesting part because I realized like individualism to me always sparks like this westernized thing of individualism, like how loud you are or how different you're wearing clothes and stuff. And I do think like I think I developed individualism, but it was not my natural habit. I think when I'm in China and I'm there, it's really comfortable to see that because individualism is not so much valued in society, and you can always be part of the group even though like you're not so interesting or have such a character, you know? Yeah.
That's actually quite interesting to me. And it's really, really interesting that you touch on the fact that like there's a Western kind of outlook on it. And
Yeah.
then you go back to China, and China is, as you mentioned, it's a lot of people there first, right?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that they're also the law there is much different than everywhere else.
Yes.
So that kind of shapes the way that people conform as well.
Yeah.
I've never been to China, but
Yeah.
at least everyone I've spoken to from China, they
Yeah.
kind of say that there's a more clear pattern in the mass, right? So when you go there, you're clearly very different. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel like you being there impacts kind of your environment? Do you feel like you're taking things in? You feel like you're being able to share some of your culture with the people around you?
I feel like I actually met some dancers there, and there I could share my like myself and like my art, and they appreciated me, and they always like point out like how different I am, even though to me I don't like. I feel like there's so much more room to work on that, but like in direct contact with them, I realized that yeah, it's um I have a lot of different like yeah, but I think outside of that, people that I met, I'm mostly hanging out with old people
Oh, okay.
because it's like my grandma and then my family, like, and I'm super into Tai Chi and all the traditional
Yeah.
stuff, and I realized that there people only really start to get into that when they start retiring because they have to work so much.
Yeah.
So then I get to hang with like people who are retired, and there I feel like I'm just soaking in, like I'm just a sponge trying to soak in what they have to offer and what they're like and their wisdom and stuff. So I don't share so much of myself, and it doesn't matter so much in that moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You're also getting a perspective of someone who's like kind of been through life and at peace, you'd say.
Yeah.
All right. And that's so interesting. You said you're like into Tai Chi and
Yeah.
Qigong and all that things, right? Do you do you find yourself like at the park in the morning with them too?
Yes.
Okay. That's good. You should start early. It's so funny because I had a friend that got me into Qigong when I was 19.
Oh.
And yeah. I started at 19 and I did it till I was about like 22 or 23. And that's when I got a full-time job. So like my patience level dropped incredibly. It's like, but before I discovered Qigong, right? I was pretty hot-headed, I'd say. Like I got irritated really quickly. And then it calmed me down like crazy. It's a very interesting thing to learn it earlier in your life. It kind of shapes the way you breathe, which kind of like helps you a lot, navigate through a lot of stuff. Not saying like I'm perfect or anything, and like I haven't been active with it.
Mhm.
But I feel like it kind of sticks with you. You know, you're like learning how to use your like upper, lower dantian and like all that. You know what I mean? So you're just like, oh, okay, like if something's going on, you're like, okay.
I feel that.
So would you say that that also played a part in affecting the way you move and dance as well?
Yes.
Wow. Tell me a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't have a dance foundation, and back then when I was still like, I would say not so much like, I think back then, because I'm in Europe, the like the people say like you have to do ballet because I enjoy jazz, like that's the foundation of dance.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually tried like a few classes at some point, but it never made sense to my body. So, but Tai Chi, and I also did Wing Chun for a little bit.
Wow.
I feel like that gave me actually the knowledge about my body, like the technical part almost, but fused together with the mentality. So I feel like to me, that's a lot of, like, that's more the base I come from when I move. And the rest is more like, yeah, creative.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it really shows if you get ever go follow her, watch her dance, you'll understand what she's saying. Actually, let's trail back. I know the conversation like took off real quick, right?
Your first question was like,
I was like, oh, you know, I was like, let's gonna start small, but like, so tell us what to do today. So we went
easy.
well, that's good. That's good. That's a good flow of conversation. Okay, so let's bring it back a little bit. So I know you for your dancing,
Yeah.
right? And then as you were more into dancing, you got more into music. So let's kind of start with your dancing. Like, what got you into dancing, and like, how's your journey with that?
Actually, it's a full circle because music got me into
Oh.
dancing. Yeah, to me, I just really enjoyed music, and even though I didn't understand anything in English, I was super resonating with hip hop and R&B, and that got me into watching YouTube videos, and then going to dance classes, and then yeah, I think I also enjoy just moving, and then the combination with music was kind of dancing. So
Oh.
I yeah, started my dance journey, but I would say now looking back, a lot of the things like the hip hop dance classes I went to were like so not.
Oh yeah, assuming it's like you're in.
Yeah.
That's the-
I'm like not even in the main city. I'm like in a very small town. So yeah, that was basically a jazz student who gave hip hop class.
Interesting. Okay.
I think you cannot even imagine the level of what things are out there because you grew up here. So
You know, it's funny because like, uh, I would go to smaller towns when I travel. For example, like when I was younger, I went to Thailand every year. So dance in Thailand, we only had breaking for the longest time. Popping wasn't even introduced until maybe like, not like a community wise, right? Until like 2008, which is like pretty late, obviously. At least in my opinion, right? There were people that did like break dance pop lock. That's what they called it.
yeah.
Where it's just like kind of crazy waving tricks type stuff, but it wasn't like foundational. And then now, of course, it's much better. But when you go to these countries, you would see that they don't really know what's going on. They're just kind of taking whatever they see in music videos and like New Jack Swing or whatever, or like break in, and they're just trying to like make sense of it. There's no education, right? So I can only imagine, and even talking to European people, they're like, well, where did you learn how to dance? When I traveled to France, I'd ask like people who are older than me. They're like, oh, we just learned from whatever was on TV. We didn't even have a name for it and stuff like that. And then I can only imagine what small towns. This is like big town. Even big towns didn't know, right? So I can only imagine what small towns would be like, you know?
Right. Yeah. I heard somebody say something really good I think it was Keenan. He's from New York,
Oh yes, yeah.
and he said, okay, I'm not quoting him, but something that got stuck with me is that information came bit by bit
Mm-hmm.
to Europe, and like first it was more like singular people sharing their perspective, but then think speaking maybe for a whole style, for example, and then I think because of that information being like transferred to singular people and then like really bit by bit, it's just a very different thing now, even now. Like
Wow.
that's how I feel.
Wow.
Like it's now still like yeah. Mm, it just feels different. And I think to me when I first really got into dancing, like wow, for the first time I understood a cipher. That was when I visited New York.
Wow.
Because before the ciphers were just like a stressful circle where nobody wants to go inside, and I'm like, why does this exist? But then when I was in New York and then I was at the ciphers, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
No, that's real. Even like people that don't have like depends on how you get into dance. You know, some people are like, oh, I want to learn how to battle, or like, I just need a way to like express myself or whatever. And you go out to these big events and there's like veterans who are like ciphering and calling each other out. You're like a little confused and intimidated. You know what I mean? And even like later having to understand like the etiquette of a cipher.
Right.
It's like that is, and it's not like, it's only something you could really get when you're thrown into it in the environment, you know, versus like if you're overseas, at least like this is speaking for a long time ago. Now it's obviously developed insanely, but like it's more like they don't really understand the etiquette of what a cipher is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
So you danced, you took some
Yeah.
classes, which was like very questionable,
Yes.
but it got you through the door, right?
Yeah.
And then when you traveled to New York, was it for dance or was it for?
Yeah, I wanted to go to the mecca of like things that interest me, and then it was really I'm so glad I did, and it was super eye-opening to see like people just at parties in parks and at sessions, like so much innovation. Yeah. Yeah.
Especially coming from like small town Europe, it
Yeah.
must have been like shocking. Yeah. So would you say that you had a style going into dance, or you kind of just wanted to move, or like hip hop was your drawing you, or what would you say?
I think because I didn't know anything back then, it was hip hop, blocking,
Oh, interesting.
something.
Okay, like whatever was available.
Yeah, so it didn't really matter from that perspective. Like, but I think I was super. I was intrigued by everything, and I'm still intrigued by everything. Like, I think just core of street dance and club dance and social dances are so inspiring to me. So I think I was always really open. And I think what I was first drawn into for the longest would be voguing.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'd
Yeah.
seen. So that was kind of what I wanted to segue into next. Is I was introduced to your dance through like shapes. You made like shapes,
Yeah.
right? And then I saw that you looked like you specialize and leaned a bit into look,
Yeah.
right? So tell me a little bit about that transition.
Yeah. So, um, I think ballroom and especially old way is so much connected to martial arts
Mm,
and shapes and geometry. So that's something I'm super always intrigued by. Is intrigued the word?
yes, that is the
Okay.
correct word.
So then with the attitude, which was super new to me, it was something that was fascinating to me because I felt like it has so many empowering essences that me as an Asian growing up in Austria needs, kind of.
Okay.
And it really helped me to more discover myself and like discover more sides of myself and also dare to put myself more out there because I feel like I actually learned how to be invisible all the time. And then this was the opposite. So I was like, okay, this is the most challenging thing, but it also makes sense. Like something in me really resonates with that. Um, the whole culture thing and all the history behind it. And then, yeah, I just really fell into it. Yeah.
That's something you said that's really interesting that hit me was that you learned how to be invisible and then you chose the loudest dance, right? So is it kind of like, do you feel like the side of you that's more invisible, like, do you feel like that resonates with you more as a person, as in like you feel like you're more on the introverted side, the observant side, but then there's still like a side of you that really wants to express at a high level? Is that kind of where this comes in?
Yes.
Oh, and like,
Yeah.
how has that been for you having these two big shifts sides?
Yeah, that's a big question. I feel like it was very nurturing,
Oh,
but also very conflicting.
okay.
And the like even if I enjoyed like being in the center or going to bars and like participating in bars and doing stuff and being visible, some part of me, like the other part of me was like, no.
Interesting.
Yeah, very
Okay.
strong.
Have you feel like there has been a breakthroughs in this?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think there has been breakthroughs for sure. Um, but even also, I think now coming to the point of where, um, like it's always gonna be part of me and part of my expression and part of like a lot of the identity. But to me, I think like being seen, I'm choosing more a different path now because I feel like to me personally, it's not the end stadium where I would want to be seen.
I see.
But I get it why other people would like choose this version of being seen. To me, I think because of my different sides, I'm more and more drawn to maybe places and spaces that are highlighting more also softness. Not that this is not soft, but maybe more an introspective version of yourself and maybe also a more human disconnected self. Because I feel like ballroom is very much like a hyper version of humans, like humans. And for example, animation or flexing or other styles or waving. And I think they're more into like, how can I look as weird and as like creepy and like as a creature or some alien, like very more disconnected from human.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Oh, I think that is so interesting as well, that like you're so interested in the essence of street dance. And there's so many dances that you brought up, like flexing. Like people overseas don't really even know about flexing or turfing, or like even juking and things like that. It's not, everybody knows hip hop, everybody knows popping, locking, right? But like the way you speak too, you're very like in discovery, and it's really, really surprising to me that there's somebody from like so far away that's very interesting. Because even in America, there's not as many people who are paying homage to these raw street dances of like each hometown and things like that as much. Even till this day, the Bay is still fighting for the recognition of turfing globally, which it deserves. Flexing is, something that is not as known as it should be, I think. And the fact that you're intrigued by those things and taking those things and applying it to your movement, whether it be like bone breaking or even like the creature like animated ways, is really, really interesting to me. Jumping from that to that, you know what I mean? So would you say that like in terms of dance now, where are you with dance
right now?
And where are you now and kind of where do you want to take it? Like what have you kind of come to in your journey?
I think my goal would be to be in sessions and give back something to people who inspire me. Wow. Like that's like to me the ultimate goal. Like to maybe like just not only take like being a cypher and be somebody who also gives something back to somebody who I'm so inspired by. Yeah. I think I more and more disconnect from dance bubbles. That's, I feel like, a very specific place, and it is so magical because there's the potential to find like the ultimate gems to me. Like some people and their art form is like everything. But then I feel like there's also a lot of potential for a lot of like judgment and a lot of uncomfortable, a lot of like performing, a lot of like yeah. I think the fact that most people who dance don't love their dance shows how like rough this place is.
Yeah.
And I'm on the same journey. Like I'm also like learning more and more to love my own dance. But I think to me, I see it more as a spiritual thing nowadays. Like I think to me it's more an energetic exchange, and also when I'm alone, something that connects me with myself.
Yeah.
Not so much than before into like
the dancing, the dance aspect of it.
Yeah, and all the things that come with it.
Yes, I totally understand, and I think that this is a great way for you to pivot. As much as we're paying homage and paying respects and like giving back, you realize that like there is, like you said, a circle for these things, and kind of taking what we learn and creating our own way of self-expression and like making it our way of life is very important. That's very important because it's a different path. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that it's kind of like just to repeat what I spoke with her about earlier, is that I said that my mentor told me that you can, as a photographer, right? I could take pictures of whatever and be a photographer and just like get through it and then be known as that, or develop your thing using the skill you learn from photography, or like photographing things that you're learning and just being yourself and creating that through your art, and then building the worth into that. And so basically he's saying that like, you're not really fighting for a lane. You're building your own lane. You don't need to like fall out of rhythm because you're just your own rhythm, like in life. And you don't have to worry so much. You're just kind of like creating as you go as well. Yeah. And that way you're free you understand where your foundation comes from, but also you're free to use it in a way that just expresses how you are. You're using it as tools to express how you are. Yeah. And I think that's really, really incredible where you've come. Must be really freeing. Do you feel?
Yeah, kind of. I'm so curious though, how is your journey?
Oh, as like a artist or dancer?
Those dance maybe.
Well, I'm gonna start off with saying I got into dance through popping. And I laugh because, not to offend anybody out there that's watching this, popping has to be the most controversial dance I've ever like come across, because it's like OGs from like so many different places that like do so many different styles, and like there's a lot of debates on like where it came from and when it started and all these things, and like it gets pretty intense if you're like involved, And I realized that like, well, I got into dance because one, like popping is cool as hell, like, right. And then two, like, it's what really gave me opportunities in life. Like, my friends and I got into it. Two of my high school friends and I got into it. Actually, the DJ you just met was in my first crew. He was really good. He's still really good, but he doesn't dance anymore. Yeah. And it's DJ Hollis, by the way. And yeah, I saw my friend was dancing. He was doing like Omarion type dances, and I was gliding. He was gliding. He was waving, and like all the girls were going crazy over him. So I made fun of him all the time. I would just like make fun of his tics, and I'd just be like do stuff like that, and he would just be like, "You're getting kind of good at that," and I was like, "Maybe I should like try." I just
That's the coolest story ever.
I was just making fun of my friend, and then eventually we started a crew, and then we started going to battles, and that's when like we kind of got into the scene, and we're just kind of like, and then next thing you know, we're like into the scene. You know what I mean? Like everything. It's like our life for a little while, and everything starts to affect you, and I think it like. As of right now, I'm considered a retired street dancer, but I still like to move.
Yeah.
Because I can't not move. But I think that there's a part of me that's like traumatized from my own dance journey to where I feel like I need to like, that's that. I love it. I respect it. I appreciate it. But like, don't count on me being involved in it because this is not my life. My life is here. Yeah. Like that's my journey. And like, that's why, and it gets sensitive because like, all of my old friends like come from there. Most of my opportunities come from, the dance world.
Yeah.
Like, my girlfriend's a popper. He's like one of my best friends is a popper. My other best friend is a popper. Like my mentor was a breaker who was in a crew with a popper. So it's like we all just kind of like grow differently. But as long as you know your roots and you're paying your respects and homage, I think it's like really important, to see how like these dances and where it comes from paves the way for you, but also understanding where to draw the line of involvement for your own life and like the things that's happening there, because it's a very different life. And like what you want in life is, it's a different path, Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And similarly listening to you, it's like, yeah, I totally get it. I totally 100% get it. I even for, a while I was in, I was popping. I was really into popping. And then I joined All Styles group in 2015. And we were kind of like doing everything in the Bay. We were like the representatives of the Bay. Like Intricate was part of the crew. There was me, Intricate, this crumper named Zay. He's like one of the best out here. And then my other crewmate, Sam, who's a part of Assassins now. We did everything, and it was called One Up Crew. They're actually a choreo crew with a freestyle crew attached. Now they're mostly choreo, yeah. But that actually expanded my dance a lot, but also made my dance really confusing. I'm just like, what am I keeping? It's like I remember, and going back to what you were saying, where there's a confliction because there's a part of you that feels the need to express and like push and like be super expressive, but another part of me is like, well, if I just do what I like doing, like it's really hard for normal people to understand. Right. Yeah, I like just like moving slow, like doing little details in the music, but like nobody has the patience for that unless,
Oh my God, I feel you so much.
Like sometimes I just feel silly. So that's why like my crew was crumpers and turfers and tutters and stuff. And I remember entering this battle and like trying to emulate the energy of crumping into my popping, but still trying to tut my style, but trying to emulate Intricate. And it came out as the hottest mess ever. And I went home and watched the footage. I was like, God, what am I doing? Like,
I want to see that so bad because it sounds like the stuff that I would enjoy.
It was like, it's so not me too. Cause like the way I battle is very witty. Like witty is like kind of, I would watch them. And I would try to, the only thing I can do is my only superpower is to try to make whatever they're doing look like it's way too much.
Whoa, that's crazy superpower.
Doesn't always work. Because sometimes way too much is just way more than me and it's better. But like sometimes it's just like, let me show you like how you can paint a picture with just basic shit.
Oh my God, I love
And sometimes it's like, I'm painting too basic, like that guy's too advanced, So it's like a double-edged sword, right? But yeah, I remember the day I was like going in and I was like
So our mentality, this is kind of like their way of thinking was like, we're gonna go in and dog these guys and dog these, like destroy them, right? And I was like, in the crew, I was like, yeah, we want to dog them, but real me is kind of like, I don't know about all that. I just want to dance and do well. But you're like adopting this mentality.
Right.
So I went in, I was like tutting this guy's face like so hard, and I went home like, that's just not you. You're not aggressive, bro. Like, and then you look like a fucking fool. Like, what are you doing? So that's kind of like, and then after that, I got back into popping, and then we started a new crew where it's like an all style but popper, like essentially a poppers crew with all style people, and that kind of helped me a lot, But then eventually, like life took a toll, and I realized like, is this really what I want to do? Like, is this where I want to go? And then I hit like a low point where I was like, do I want to keep dancing even? Like, so I started trying to do the Red Bull stuff, and that messed me up. That destroyed me. Because me in Red Bull dance your style, hell, no one's gonna, I'm just gonna be like, and they're like, what's that guy doing? Like, nobody wants to see the robot dance your style. And the guy comes out and flips and like wins. I'm just like, oh.
I hate that.
Yeah, so that's kind of when I like really had to like take a hard ask to myself and being like, what are you really doing? And like, what do you really want to do? And like, what is really happening with dance right now? And like, how different is it when you were brought up? And like, why did you get into dance? Why do you love dance? And do you still have that same relationship with dance? And I think after my kind of recovery from it, I was like, all right, well, I'm not actively dancing yet, but it's because I'm trying to discover my new relationship with dance. Like, or even just myself in general,
Right.
Like, life takes a toll, and you got to really check in and be like, what is my relationship with like life and the thing? And, so that's where I'm at with dance.
I feel that so much. Like, sometimes I wish there's a word to say how much everything resonates with me. And especially also the part of, I feel like that also what I love is stuff that probably 90% of the world wouldn't consider dancing. Like, but it's also, it is heartbreaking to me to hear that, because I think because one part of me is so related to it, and also because I do meet people again and again who kind of has this path, and I feel like it's sad that because of the big space that people take up, for example, now how it should look like, and then everybody else like kind of just like goes back in, and it's like a bit sad.
It's really interesting because at the core of all this, it actually circles back to what you said in the very beginning. It's a human need to feel belonging.
Right.
So it's like when there's like dance politics or dance styles or like clashing of opinion, it makes you feel like you don't belong.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, all right, well, if I want to do this, I need to take this energy that I've spent so much time in my life building, and it needs to go somewhere, and it needs to grow, because that's like the nature of a human as well.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's why I was like, oh, okay, I see you're getting more into music and things like that. And like, especially knowing where you're from, like how the dancing is there. Like I sort of follow it, and it's like, oh, interesting. Like, okay, cool. Like it seems pretty small. Yeah, it seems quite small. Like there's like 5 or 6 tops of each style.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
So the whole country, there's probably like less than 100 dancers.
Yeah.
So that's like, okay, because if you're artistic and passionate, like it needs to go somewhere. The energy needs to go somewhere.
That's true.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it that way. That's true.
Yeah, and I think that's what made me step away from the dance too, is because like I don't really know who I am in all of this anymore.
Right.
But I want to know who I am like in general. And like period. So then it doesn't really matter what I do. I'm aware of myself,
Yeah.
Yeah, like I could do the robot and not give a shit what you think. Like,
I love the robots.
somebody loves it. Thank you. Somebody loves the robot.
It's so cool. It's like I think that's the thing about me. I would always prefer watching like that weird stuff, or that like super silly stuff, or that super raw stuff, over any like high acrobatic, like super trade body type of thing. I don't know, it's just not like, it's impressive and I do respect it because people put in a lot of effort. But me personally, it just doesn't touch it.
Doesn't resonate
Yeah.
when you say, right?
Yeah.
There's something deeper that you're looking to discover.
Yeah.
And then when you see things that move like that, you're like, okay, that's not normal. And I like that because it's making me think and feel, and it makes me want to expand. It makes me want to learn more.
Right.
And I think that's like different for everybody. Like, for example, some poppers, they love the super hard hitters. And to them, that's like their craft of interest,
Yeah.
Versus some, they're like, I really like the guys that are like not making it as far, but they're breaking the mold, things like that. Or even like, for example, MT Pop has been a phenomenal addition to the world because he's doing his own thing. Yet it's such a high level where it's undeniable.
Yeah.
So like I like things like that where it's just like, you're really doing it, like you're really doing your thing.
Yeah.
Would you say there's somebody that you've been kind of watching and thinking like, wow, that's really incredible, like I want to try that?
Yeah. I think to me, Keenan is really like, somebody who gave me so much to think about constantly since I met him. And I think because he's fusing light feed and animation and like now doing his own thing, like that part of doing your own thing.
Yeah.
But being committed to it. I think that's so hard. I admire that so much because like sometimes I do start something, but I feel like I definitely can need more energy of like hardcore committed. And I think he hardcore commits to that thing like holistically.
Yeah.
And it really made me think, like he's a person which made me think about who I want to be.
Wow.
And I think that is so big.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think that even like the conviction of like your movement and how you're communicating it comes from like a depth of how well you know yourself?
Yeah.
And then do you think that like maybe it's a sense of like familiarity where you're like doing, if like I've done this move 1 billion times, then you're able to like focus your conscious and then just let the body kind of move.
Right.
Yeah.
I think now I more and more realize that most things dancing is mental first.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think because the body you can train.
Yeah.
Right. And I think from what I've spoken to a lot of dancers, at least like the ones that are performing at a high level, is that they just trust their body and they're just focused on like their expression and like being present, and like their feeling, and their body just takes over and it just does what it has to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredible because even people that do impressive movement or have like impressive technique, it doesn't really hit here. You get a sense of like, that's incredible, that's amazing, and like the training, the movement or whatever, but the sense of expression, even if some people don't do as much, it hits you so much harder and you're like, that was raw. That was so raw. So you feel like you enjoy the energy of the rawness.
A lot. I think that's something that I enjoy so, like, this is one of the probably things I enjoy most. Watching people who are so in it, like, just like fully not only being themselves, but like pushed who they are. So hardcore. That it's like giving you a whole movie to watch, basically.
Have you seen a guy from the Bay named Crow before?
No, I have not seen him in person, but I heard so much about him.
I think you'd really like watching.
Yeah.
He's pretty incredible. He's one of those guys that you could tell like it turns on, like, and then he's like in his eyes and his like face, like he goes into a different dimension. He's like channeling it. That's what it feels like. And I'm just like, dude, you're so unreal. Like I hope you get to see him at some point.
I hope so too. That's what I observed too. I think like the super timeline. Like I think there's impressive artists and there's impressive dancers but then sometimes the impressiveness stays in the moment. But then there's like timeline.
Yeah. Wow.
Whenever you watch them, it's almost like you can time travel because you can instantly like go back to that emotion.
Yeah.
It transcends like time almost. And I feel like oftentimes those dancers mentally are like somewhere else,
Oh, for sure.
but also in real life sometimes.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's always some kind of trade-off. You know
Yes.
what I mean? That's why
Trade-off.
I think it's like, my friend and I always joke about like, yeah, there's like some of the dancers in the world, they might be like 50-time like world champion, but they'll still like ask you to buy them coffee. Like they can't afford to buy coffee. Or
Yeah.
they can't like get to their rent. Things like that. Versus like the dancers that are like, very balanced. We're like, okay, we're like really good. We're doing pretty well, but also we have our shit together. Like that's kind of, I was like, and that's like, if I want to be any kind of dancer, if I had to be a dancer, I'd rather be like the middle high-ish dancer with like a good look. So I don't have to worry. Right?
But the trade-off is real.
Yeah.
You can't have everything, so it's like, yeah.
And that's why, some of the artsiest people in the world are like a little crazy,
Yes.
They're like, because they're literally, I feel like if you look at it from like a energy standpoint, they're like receiving so much and their brain is moving so fast and like the frequency, let's say, right, of how fast their brain is moving. They're like literally like, but they're trying to keep their shit together to appear kind of normal. But there's like no way if you're receiving that much energy, if your output is so high all the time. So that's probably why they're just like creating just to like get it out, but also hard to function on like a normal basis.
Right. I love that you describe it with the energies. I feel that too. You see things generally like through energies or how like
Usually, like, not to sound crazy on camera, but yeah.
me too.
Yeah, like it's a very interesting topic because like even like maybe off topic, but everything on my body is representative of some kind of like energy or like vibration based thing. But like all this is done by a monk. Like I have him like pray while he was like, yeah, and like my whole back, my neck, it's all like things that represent energy and vibrations and stuff. And it's not something I talk about often. Like, oh, cool snakes in your back. I'm like, oh, a little more than that. But basically, like the idea is like, it's to learn these ancient philosophies or teachings of like old texts and trying to like convert them into modern practical language. All right. And then I feel like you can do that, which I'm not saying master of or anything, but like, first off, it makes you sound way less crazy. And secondly, it's like you get a really good foundation to life. And it also kind of helps you navigate through life and kind of like see your environment and understand a lot better and how to interact with things. And like the idea of like developing self is also an idea of like an outward reflection of like a potential cause and effect. So it's like very energy based, like, oh,
Right.
And then if you learn like the tones and stuff too, right? Or like the breathing stuff, you can watch someone's breath and be like, okay, I can probably figure out like how to navigate through this. Or if this sound is like this, how do I kind of like bring it up or bring it down? Even when you interact with like children or like pets, you can tell where they are and like how you can kind of like shift the energy of that. Not saying about master, obviously I've gotten bit multiple times. It's like, I'm not perfect, but it's like better than someone going like, oh, stop crying, or like, oh, stop barking, or something like that. Where it's like you're actually taking the time to like figure out what's happening, like energetically, and then I think if you figure out what's happening energetically, the brain is just going to do the physical computing itself.
Right.
And then the action's going to follow through like conscious and then physical, either way.
Well, I want to hear more about that.
But that was a great question, but which I think is something that like is intriguing in even the way you communicate. Like, a lot of things that you share on social media as well, it's very meaningful. And it tells me, as well as the ability for you to be able to detect something in another person, tells so much about the depth of how much you understand something in you. So that's why as soon as you like got in the car, you're like, how's life? And I was like, yeah, I can sense like you knew. Because even when you post stuff, right, it's just like, wow, like I resonate with the things you post a lot. I think it's very beautiful and I think it's very meaningful. And it's like, it's a sense of somebody who cares a lot about the detail of their life and also their environment. As you know, it just kind of shows you're a very thoughtful person in general, from inside and outside. Yeah.
I'm learning to take in compliments.
Yeah.
But my urge is like, but you, and I think just because, and the reason, like the fact that you could see something like that is like the perfect reflection of also the person you are. Yeah.
Right back at you. Right back. And no, I totally get it when you say like, oh, when people say like compliment you, and it's I don't know if it's part of being Asian or not. It might be a part of being Asian.
Yeah.
It is like I used to always do this, and somebody, I think it's the Western part that makes it really cool, where you're like, you feel like if you accept things like compliments or things like that, or like help or gifts or something, it's like you feel like you have to deserve it, and then when you get it, you feel like you don't deserve it.
Oh my God, yeah. And then you're in debt or something.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so that like I'm still working on the help part. You know, I'm great. Like, I want to help people, and then the reverse of that is like, well, what makes you think people don't want to help you then? So it's like, why couldn't I think of that? You know, or when the one that I got over first is like when people compliment you, right? All you could say is like, thank you. I really appreciate your kind words. Like, thank you for taking the time to express that to me, because it's like you should have the confidence and not mistake it for arrogance to know that you put the time to be good at what you're doing. Right. So if someone appreciates it, you can appreciate them back for acknowledging that.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, and that's something that we as Asians get mistaken a lot for, being like, oh, he's so into he's so into himself, he thinks he's so good. I'm like, well, I think I'm good. I have to think I'm good.
Yeah, you should.
To a degree, and it takes you a lot, because then if you don't, you get imposter syndrome. And then you fulfill your own prophecy of being an imposter. Yeah, so it's like, you know, take your time. Like you love this, you put your time into this, you should be, you know, appreciative.
Right. I do think the most revolutionary art is when you actually love your own art. I mean, I feel like that's almost the opposite of artist life. So to be able to like appreciate what you do is so big. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it? I heard this. Did you just say this? What's how many people that like don't love their own dance? You just said that earlier, and that hits so hard, because it's like if you're spending so much time doing something and you don't love it, then why are you doing it? Like, yeah. And I think, and that's another crazy topic. Just gonna brush past it because it came to mind. Yeah. But I see these kids in China, and they're like 7 years old, and they're like hitting harder than like 35-year-olds, and they're like doing air flares, and they're crying while they're practicing.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, the kid, you know what I'm talking about? And it's just like, what? Like, that kid's gonna grow up to be, just two things are gonna happen. He's gonna be hell raw, or he's gonna be traumatized as hell. Like, it's only two paths.
That is very true.
So like, I really hope you become like the world champion. Because I'd hate to see like him go down, you know. And like, it makes me think too, like, he's like 8 years old, you know, you're like air flaring, and like that's gonna mess up your bones, dude. You're gonna like, you know. So hopefully he loves what he does. Hopefully he learns to love what he does.
Oh yeah, I know exactly which video you're talking.
Yeah, it went viral for a while. Yeah, he's like crying. His mom's like, "God, you gotta hit the air flare," and he's like, "No, I don't want to."
Even when I was in China, I was at the studio, and it was Friday night, and the child couldn't go home, and the mom kept him doing, and he was like this big.
Oh no!
He had to do it over and over and over again, and I was like, so uncomfortable.
Yes,
like, but you cannot step in also.
For sure, and I think this
so rude.
It's like a disconnect too of like what they're doing it for.
Yeah,
you know, it's not like
yeah,
not like dance. You're not doing it for the dance like aspect. You're doing it because I assume that it's because Asian parents think that if they get really good at dance, there's some kind of like outlet that can make them famous or like give them opportunities or something, because entertainment's big out there. Is that kind of what's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah, it is. And I think there's also a lot of money in it, which I was surprised by, because I heard that actually you can live so well of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unheard of everywhere. I think that's why a lot of dancers go to China.
I
A
think
lot of
so
opportunities,
too.
and they pay well.
Yeah.
And they love foreigners, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's very, something something I'll never experience, because I feel like just going to China, I would just go to like go see stuff. I don't know if I'd go
Eat
dance.
stuff.
Eat stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're from like mainland China.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's so interesting how the conversation has taken so many told. I was like, oh, it's gonna be a 15, 20 minute talk. Yeah. Well, I feel like I could chat with you forever, but I think we should probably end this for the viewer's sake. Before we close off, I always ask two things. The first thing, this is gonna be for you to look back on as well. No, don't be nervous. The first thing I would ask is, in your journey, for someone that's watching, whether they're someone that follows you or maybe a youth or someone that's in the journey as well, what would you want to send a message to these people?
Think two things come up spontaneously to my mind. First thing is like, really, when you feel like you're loving yourself and you figure out where this is, try to be there more often. And then the second thing is, and that's so cheesy, but I do think that anybody can do whatever they want. Literally anything you can do, like spiritually, and then from there everything else will unfold.
Wow.
But I believe that if you have an urge to change or have an idea that you want to bring it to the world, you should do it.
Wow. That's amazing. So don't fear to do things.
Yes.
We don't get anywhere in life if we fear to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you do things, there's people always who's gonna support you.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for that. And the viewers should thank you as well. Now, this is the fun question I would ask before we close things off. If you look back to yourself a year from now, what would you tell yourself?
1 year from now?
Yes. Let's say if you put yourself in the position where you are 1 year in the future, what would you tell yourself now?
Wait.
Yeah, it's a tricky question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is, if you right now,
Yes.
right, were you 1 year from now, what would you tell yourself today?
Oh, that's a good question. I would.
It's a tricky question.
So I have to think about me in 1 year, what I would tell myself.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I think I will tell myself that most of the things that matter don't matter. And maybe, oh my God, that's a hard question. I have to think. Wait 1 second.
Take your time.
About it.
This is the reason I asked this question, is because it makes people think, and it makes you kind of visualize and kind of puts yourself in a place where you're like, oh, okay, like that's where I want to be. And every time I ask this to somebody, some people are super ready, and that's they go, oh, you really thought about and some people are like, oh, I'm not sure yet. Or some people, like, you're thinking about it. You're like, oh, where do I want to be? And like, what would I say to me?
Mm. I think I would really want to hear. Time, brain empty.
Or how about we switch it up? What would you want to say to yourself a year from now? If you look back to this video a year from now, what would you want to say to yourself?
Okay, I would say to really get deep into intuition, like really practice and learn and figure out the topic of intuition that's wide and deep and high as possible and go with life from them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I really think that's amazing. And I probably could have opened that topic up for another hour. But I will close it with saying that is amazing. And that's something that I think everybody should tune into, because that's like literally where your gut is kind of like where your second brain is, you know?
Right.
So it's like you really got to train to like recognize the feeling of your gut and your intuition.
Right.
And then they always told me that like, if you're stuck in life and you're like confused or you don't know what to do, pay attention to what you're excited about. And once you feel excitement, to act on your highest excitement, and it's going to open the door for you. Yeah. So that's kind of.
That's a good one. So many viral videos right there.
We shall see if it pops off. Look, Karin, I want to say it wrong. Thank you so much for being on the episode today. I learned so much. It was so wonderful. And we're going to get into a photo shoot. So let's go take some pictures. All right. Peace. Oh, that was awesome.